We are facing profound forces moving through Western democracies, where facts are now overwhelmed by feelings. And if you belong to the woke tribe, I'm not allowed to hurt your feelings. And if you don't want to be known as a he or a she, then your feelings trump the foundation influences and values that lie at the heart of a party like ours. I say to them, bugger you. We've got problems with the cost of living. We've got problems with infrastructure. We've got problems with social security, with crime. And the moment that you talk about a host of other problems and somehow you're not showing enough deference or religious obedience to the climate god, then somehow you are to be cancelled. You're to be written out of the script as a denialist. By cancelling an industry based on an indigenous resource called natural gas, which, by the way, we've got inordinate amounts down off the coast of Canterbury. We have huge amounts off the coast of the east, around Gisborne, Wairarapa. And we have residual amounts in Taranaki. But it was driven by a belief that if they cancelled that industry in New Zealand, then we, as Kiwis, would lead the world and prevent the planet from heating. The conceit and the arrogance of the Labour Party and the Green Party, because they continue to believe that. Whilst at the same time, they go to all these climate conferences. How do they get there? I can tell you with that, they're not going on one of the original 7 wakas that came from Hawaii. Don't buy into it. Stand against it and send it to the bloody knackers yard. Before you argue about redistributing wealth or carving up the pie, focus on the generation of the wealth. Make the wealth before you bicker as to how you're going to divide it or spend it. With the passage of the fast-track legislation, we are going to accelerate development in New Zealand, mark my words. Folks, we've got to have trade-offs. We must have trade-offs, and we need to make those trade-offs on the basis of science, economic rationalism, and open debate. Not tiny groups able to weaponise the Resource Management Act, not tiny groups able to weaponise discussions, debates either around wāhi tapu or species, but an open, honest discussion. How are we going to grow ourselves out of the doldrums that this government found ourselves to be in when we took over the benches of Treasury? Because we have huge and dire challenges in front of us. One thing more nauseating than me seeing the green people overseas lecturing me about the death of the planet because of Matua Shane's rhetoric is Debbie Ngarewa-Packer, on behalf of the Māori Party, trotting off overseas and dissing the nation that we belong to. But the notion that the Māori Party are raising a new generation of young men and women to not feel pride either in our flag, our name, or indeed not have confidence about our future means they need to be driven out of Parliament sooner rather than later. It's a measure of immense frustration to watch them come into Parliament, swagger, behave in a manner totally inconsistent with the traditions of Parliament, take all the upside but accept none of the obligations. It's not only misleading a new generation, but it is selling Māori ambition as a contribution to a greater, more prosperous New Zealand, dangerously short. The co-leaders have sadly not only misrepresented, but they've sold their own people out. None of this business of turning up, using trash-talking language, and then complaining, oh, you're victimizing us, when one co-leader is told, are you the Lone Ranger or Tonto with that hat on? Be an activist, but for God's sake, leave politics permanently, because we've had a guts full of you. And whether they've got a moko or not, they've met their match in Winston and me. Thank you very much.